right, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Monday, April 26, 2021. Usman knocks out Masvidal in the second round Saturday, and some NFL news as the draft week is upon us.
It's a big week, so stay tuned.
There goes that man's jockstrap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for him. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
All right, happy Monday, man. How's it going?
Happy Monday, and all is well. All is well. Had a great weekend. Glad to be here. And what do you want to dive into first here?
Yeah, so kind of same routine as usual, kicking things off with the NFL here. Some non-draft related news to start things off. Rob Gronkowski set a world record this past weekend at the University of Arizona. Went back to his alma mater, so that was awesome to see. He caught a football from a guy dropping it out of a helicopter, 600 plus feet in the air, caught it, only took him 3 takes. First 2 just went barely through his fingers. I can't imagine how fast the ball like that was coming down. So it was awesome to see that. Obviously, great for University of Arizona to have a guy of that caliber come back to their university. And yeah, it was just awesome to see for the game of football.
Yeah, it's cool. Gronk, he's known for his off-the-field antics. So I'm not surprised he's the one that was out there trying to set the record here. Yeah, cool to see. Like you said, cloud first of the Arizona Wildcats here, and good to see athletes. You know, he could have done that anywhere, and he chose to do it there. So clearly, he must have a good relationship with her, and I know he partied hard, big time down there. So that's probably why he went back. Going back, party hard after he sets the world record.
For sure. So yeah, another point, I guess the other point I have non-draft related, Sean Lee announces his retirement after 11 seasons in the NFL. I believe all 11 years with the Cowboys. Big bruiser guy in the NFL. Always had the cowboy collar on. So just like, I don't know. Watching when I was younger, that was always something I thought was dope, watching him with that on, and just, I don't know, makes you look bigger and tougher or whatever. And obviously it's due to probably neck injury or something he had one time, so just protecting himself. But yeah, Sean Lee had an amazing career. 11 years. That's a long time to be an NFL linebacker, dealing all those blows to running backs, receivers, all that good stuff. So great to see him hanging it up, and seems like he's in good health too. So I'm sure he'll enjoy his retirement and not have any too bad of injuries from what it looks like.
Yeah, hats off to Sean Lee for a great career. All in Dallas, so it's good to see he stuck with that team. I could see him getting involved in some coaching, being a linebackers coach, maybe a D coordinator. He was one of the guys who really kind of locked it down out there over the middle. So yeah, congratulations, man, and have a great rest of your career and great rest of your life.
So yeah, what do you got for the NFL? Again, draft week's upon us. What's kind of some rumors that are circulating this week?
Well, big news this morning. Falcons are shopping calls for Julio Jones. Early rumors have 15 teams have already made calls, or 15 calls have been received in Atlanta. Julio's been deleting stuff off his Instagram per the Pat McAfee show that they reported. Yeah, so this clearly looks real. So that's one piece. Justin Jefferson's dance, The Gritty, is being added into Fortnite, which is pretty cool. Shout out to Justin Jefferson. And then the last thing, not really having to do with the draft here, is oh no, just kidding. That was it. The rest is draft talk. So yeah, let's dive into the Julio Jones talk. Who do you think would be a great target for him? For him to land? Where could you see him going? Do you see them actually getting rid of him?
Yeah, I mean, Julio Jones has been one of those household name receivers for the last decade. I want to say he made the um, all-decade team for the 20 teens as well. So, again, just a monstrous dude. Year after year, just continues to produce while he's healthy. Of course, I know the past couple of years he's fought some injuries, but yeah, to see some places that he could land. Obviously, being from Wisconsin, big Packers fans. Pat receiver room has been kind of the one room that needs some help. As surprising as that is to say when you have Devonte Adams there, but the way the NFL is trending the last couple of years, you need more than one deep threat guy. Devonte Adams can't do it all. You got some other young studs on that team who are starting to develop, building a relationship with Aaron Rodgers. With Leo Jones is one of those guys where you bring him in and literally, I'm sure him and Rodgers would connect immediately just with both of their knowledge of the game. So it'd be amazing to see him come to Green Bay. Um, and I know some other receiving cores that could use them would be like Philadelphia could really use them. Even the Rams, they have
Do you
a
think
young
he'd
receiving core.
do you think he'd waste his time to go there though? I guarantee you he's got a no trade clause. He's one of those guys that probably I ain't going there unless I say it's okay. Who at this point would want to go to the Eagles? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, they have a lot of developing to do, and with Julio on the latter half of his career, and potentially one severe injury away from hanging it up, you never really know. He's kind of Four Women Live talking about how he's basically the offensive JJ Watt. He's been a stud on in his position for years and years, but he's fought some injuries and kind of the same thing with JJ Watt. I could see Julio Jones hanging it up if he has one more season-ending injury. Um, yeah, like you said, I'm sure he has a no trade clause to where if Atlanta's like, oh, we're going to send you here, and if it's not a team where he could see himself going and winning a Super Bowl right now, I'm sure he'd say no. Um, so kind of taking the Eagles out of that, the Rams, again, another one. They have a young receiving core. Robert Woods is really the vet on that team. Cooper Cup as well. But again, two names that barely cracked the top 10, top 15 of receivers in the NFL. So that obviously be a good landing spot for him. But where's your head at? Where do you see him potentially landing? Or do you see him staying put? Do you think this is all just the Falcons trying to hype up and add value to Julio's name, kind of like Seattle did with Russell Wilson? It almost seems like.
I think this is real. There has been, the talk over the past couple seasons, Julio and Matt Ryan, ever since the 20, what was it, 25-3,
Oh,
28-3.
28-3. Yeah.
Ever since that moment, it's kind of seems like that whole organization has disrupted itself ever since that moment. There's always been talk, Ryan can't play as well as he used to be able to. He can't throw the ball as good as he used to. Stats are looking that way. It kind of looks that way when you're watching the game out there every Sunday. I could definitely see him moving on. An interesting team that I could see him going to the Colts. I could see him stepping in there, being opposite side of T.Y. Hilton, and I could see them doing some damage with Wentz. He can throw the ball. I just feel like this will be his first shake really in the NFL. I don't really judge too much of what he did for the Eagles. He was hurt for the majority of the time, and he didn't really even get to play full seasons and all this and all that. So I'm really looking at this as kind of being his first start in the NFL, kind of like Sam Darnold, the same thing. Him over there in Carolina. I feel like this is going to be his first start, kind of evaluate and see how it goes there. That's another place I could see them going to get Sam Darnold a weapon. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I could see every team being potentially open. Who wouldn't want Julio on your team if you can make it work? Everybody's going to, everybody would love to have that guy in your building. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him go to the Packers, like you mentioned, being opposite sides of Devonte Adams. Rodgers would have his choice, literally time in and time out of who he's going to throw to, Adams or Jones. On you know what I mean? Like that would be and then you have Aaron Jones in the backfield as well. That'd be an incredible offense to see. I do have to say, if he does end up somehow on the Chiefs or the Buccaneers, that the season's a wrap if that happens. But yeah, I think I really can see him ending up somewhere. I like I said, I see the Colts being a really good fit for him. Just kind of with how they've kind of revamped their whole organization, re-signing T.Y. Hilton, bringing in the new quarterback, buffing up the line. You got Jonathan Taylor year 2. Could be big things happening over there in Indy.
Yeah. And one, I guess, kind of tangent into draft talk, along with another person's potentially relocating. There have been rumors circulating within the Eagles organization, potentially shopping Zach Ertz and their 12 overall pick in this year's draft in a package deal. Um, so again, another a guy kind of in the latter half of his career, but yet Zach Ertz, Pro Bowl tight end, right up there with Kelsey and Kittle as kind of those three are always the top 3 tight ends in the league. Um, Again, kind of the same thing as Julio Jones. It's just speculation. No official sources have come out and said really anything. It's just all probably insider information within the league, looking to leak stuff and make a name for themselves. Um, what do you kind of see with this going on in Philadelphia? Do you think that this has some weight behind it, or do you think that this one might potentially just be speculation?
Oh no, this is 100% real. Last year there were reported fist fights between Ertz and like coaches slash team personnel over contract disputes and over plays being called, stuff like that. He's out of there. He ain't gonna play. He ain't gonna play one down there. I guarantee you, he's like put himself in that Deshaun Watson category where he's sitting out and he ain't gonna play until he gets put somewhere else. Yeah. So that's basically kind of how that's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Where do you see a good landing spot for him potentially being? I know the tight end position is kind of turning into a hybrid position now, where you're going to be start to see more guys like Kyle Pitts, Travis Kelsey, both tall, the just solid dudes that can really be utilized as a receiver or a tight end. Zach Ertz is kind of that, a little slower, but still obviously very productive guy. Um, he's also at that point in his career where if he's not getting the right look or enough money, he could easily hang it up as well.
Yeah. I could honestly potentially see Jacksonville going to grab him. I mean, a veteran guy around a rookie quarterback and Lawrence coming in, some added protection, safety blanket. That's kind of I feel like that could probably be the best fit for Jacksonville since they already got their number 1 pick. You know what I mean? They have a handful of other picks, so I don't really see getting a tight end, a good tight end, and getting rid of a couple later on picks. I feel like would be the play if the Eagles obviously would take that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like the theme. Some of these older vets, as they get into the latter parts of their career, they become too expensive for the team that's had them for a decade to keep them. A lot of them kind of gravitate towards your Florida and California teams, Arizona as well with like J.J. Watt. So kind of sticking with Florida, Miami even. Um,
That's because there's no state tax. There's no income
yeah.
tax in Florida and in Texas.
Um, but yeah, with the Dolphins, they have Mike Gesicki. That's the kind of their number 1 tight end. Again, a notable guy. I definitely put him in the top 10 for tight ends, but having dual threat tight ends is again another trend that you see in the NFL, where it used to just be tight ends are for blocking and running like 5-10 yard routes once in a while, and then Kelsey kind of uh, created that hybrid of receiver tight end look. So it doesn't really hurt to have 2 all-star tight ends on your team. Sticking with that as well, flipping over to the West Coast, um, Chargers just let Henry go or walk and go to New England. So they're going to be out of So they're out of their star tight end. That could be another spot for Ertz to land as well. Really, there's a lot. Just like Julio Jones could really go to any team, Zach Ertz as well could really go to any team. The only ones I could really see him not been like, I mean, like the Chiefs don't really need him. The Bucks don't really need him. Those are really the two teams that don't need him. But again, like you said, if Julio lands on either of those teams, it's game over. I feel like that's kind of the same thing with Zach Ertz as well.
Yeah, I mean, the veteran player, he definitely is a big value piece. I feel like the Eagles letting him go with that just coming to an end, the bomb that went off in Philadelphia that just, kind of sent everybody their own different way. Yeah, San Diego, or Los Angeles now. I can see him fitting in. I can see him fitting in there. Just the only thing is with Justin Herbert already being able to pass how he can pass, and him, I forgot what it was. They were in the most one possession games last year. I think like every game except for like 3 of them were one possession games at the very end. So he's already doing that with what he had. Yeah, losing Hunter Henry, that kind of hurts a little bit, but his stats weren't even off the charts. So I don't know if it's worth kind of blowing it all up and taking that chance to just go one little step further, or maybe you kind of grab another guy, bring him in, let the whole thing evaluate and get moving like 2-3 years down the road, and bam, you're right there. Instead of taking, because that's kind of a risky move, bringing an older guy in, especially at the end of his career, who probably wants some good decent money, who could, like you said, come in for one play, get hurt, not perform very well. I know, like the Packers with Mercedes Lewis, how we keep him on the roster. Only reason we have him on the roster is because he's been willing to take less and less and less and less and less to be on the team. And he's a blocking guy, that's pretty much, he'll maybe get, the ball thrown to him 1-2 times, maybe a game, but and he knows his role. So it all depends what I guess you're, as a team, are looking to get out of Ertz when you're going to bring him in. Cause I mean, like you said, he's top 3 probably every single season, at least his name. So that's a big value. Sticking with the tight end here, what would you do if you were Pitts? Would you come into the league as a wide receiver, or would you come in as a tight end?
I mean, I guess it depends what team you go to, where they're hurting the most. I mean, if like the Falcons are kind of at that number 4 spot, seem to be where the earliest he could land right now.
And now it talks with Julio walking.
Yeah, now with Julio leaving, Pitts would bring that much more value to where he could be a tight end or a receiver. I don't even know who the Falcons tight end is right now. It used to be Hooper, but now he's on the Browns. So that goes to show right there, Falcons don't really have a notable tight end on their team. So you bring in Pitts, who you label him as a tight end, but you can fucking put him at slot, wideout, doesn't really matter. Kind of like Gronk, even. You see Gronk, who's Gronk and Kelsey, their position title is tight end, but you'll see him in a slot, you'll see him out wide. So you can, and Pitts is even more versatile than those two, in my opinion. So, I mean, I could see him being utilized more as a receiver, but I think that he keeps the tight end title to his name.
See, if I were Pitts, I'd definitely put that wide receiver title on me. So much more money gets paid to wide receivers than tight ends. So that's one thing right there. And then, like you said, they can always move him from wide receiver to tight end later in his career. Once he starts slowing down a little bit, throw him in there to block and then release that way, instead of the kid's people say he's going to be potentially the greatest tight end to ever play the game. Like, people say he's like a Gronk, but double the athleticism of Gronk, like, because he doesn't have all the injuries. He hasn't taken, football's a different game now. You know what I mean? Gronk played back, he's not too much older than us. I mean, he played through those were the gladiator days pretty much. From like our generation all the way earlier was like gladiator-ness. And now everything's about the safety, protecting people. You know, we want everybody to get to the pros, you know, and not get hurt. This kid's barely got any bumps, you know. I haven't known one major injury that he's had over his career that's at least came out or anything's been said about that. So as far as I know, this kid's the diamond in the rough who's about to be a game changer the second he steps on the field. He's gonna win rookie of the year.
Oh yeah.
Unless Trevor Lawrence literally takes the Jags to the playoffs, then I could see that potentially being two, because that'd be pretty impressive for turning that organization around just with the quarterback.
Yeah.
As good as people are saying that he is, he should have no problem doing that. And clearly the kid's confident in himself, like we've talked about many times. Kid's got, you know, he trusts himself. He knows what he's capable of doing. So it's going to be really fun to see this year with all the quarterbacks coming in, a lot of teams really changing the salary cap, a lot of guys having to get cut. A lot of teams look kind of different, obviously, except for the two powerhouses, the Chiefs and the Bucks. But pretty much every team almost looks Packers too, because we re-signed almost everybody as well.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these teams are going to look completely different, and they're going to have some ballers on their teams.
Mm-hmm. Kind of quick circling back to one more point with Pitts, how you said whether he should be labeled as a receiver or tight end. Obviously, I agree with you with the point about him being with a receiver, giving him more money and probably getting more looks as well, more targets if he's a receiver. But at the same time, by doing that, you take away his blocking, because you don't have a receiver and then all of a sudden bring him in tight and down in a 3-point stance on the line, because then you got to back off somebody else off the line, since you can only have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. So by doing that, it kind of takes his blocking out of the equation if you label him as a receiver. Obviously, you can bring him in the slot for like crack blocks, cracking down on like an edge rusher or an outside linebacker. But for run blocking, that kind of takes him out, takes that equation out of his name if you put him in as a receiver and don't even make him a tight end.
Yeah, and he did say that is the one thing in his game that he needs to work on the most is his blocking, both pass and run blocking. So that's it's perfect storm right there. Get him in the league as a wide receiver, young, and you can always teach someone how to fucking block. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So he can always learn how to block. Use the kid as a weapon as much as you can until later in his career, the latter half, start blocking a little bit more.
Yeah. Another point I had from this past week, Devin Hester, everybody knows him as one of the greatest punt returner, kick returners of all time. He sat down for an interview last week where he stated that he was mere seconds away from becoming a Tennessee Titan, but at the last second they changed their mind. I guess they even called him, said, "Congratulations, we're going to make you a Titan here." And with a couple seconds left on the clock, they changed their mind. I didn't even look to see who they took over him to even see if it look it up and be like, who the fuck is that guy? Because then obviously it'd be like, okay, the Titans screwed up. So I guess with that kind of in mind, you see, kind of circling back to your Sam Darnold, your Carson Wentz, they basically start a new career over in Carolina and now in Indy, to where their previous teams kind of held them down, whether it was the personnel they surrounded them with, the coaching, whatever it might be. Do you think Devin Hester would have still had the Hall of Fame worthy career that he did in Tennessee, or do you think Chicago was he couldn't have got any better than what he did in Chicago?
Chicago's the perfect spot for him. That city embraced him, loved him. He wore 23, Jordan, he was he was their GOAT. He was like their guy that if any chance they could, how even they fucking line him up at wide receiver sometimes and just run down the field and hope they could throw one to him, like he changed the game with his speed. He was like the first full speed guy that was just like, oh my God, like this guy can really run. And the NFC North, all of our teams, special teams suck ass. So that it was the perfect storm for him to come to the Chicago Bears. And Yeah, I really don't think he would have had the career that he had anywhere else.
I agree. Like you said, Chicago was just he came in, wasn't really a slow developing guy. It was just, if I remember correctly, like one of his first ever returns he ever had,
Took
one
it
for
to the
six.
house. Yep.
So it was just immediately boom. All right, young guy, jump out there, let's see what you got. And he's like, all right, this is what I
Then,
got. And
then in the Super Bowl too, took it back.
mhm,
First play.
yeah, opening kickoff.
Yep. Against
Yeah,
the
like you said,
Colts.
being the NFC North, just as a Packers fan, I remember multiple times just getting torched by Devin Hester.
Yeah, don't
Um,
kick him the ball. Don't
no,
kick him the ball. And that's what teams did. After the and now it's not like that anymore. Now every single time you're seeing a guy they don't punt it out of bounds anymore. You know what I mean? They're shooting for the goal line or they're taking the touch. You know what I mean?
hmm
The returner, unless you know what I mean, because you're taught you stand on the 10. If it's going over your head, you leave it. If not, you fair catch it. If you can run up on it and make a play, obviously you do that. But like punting has definitely changed because I feel like of Devin Hester. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he really changed the game that way because every time he touched the ball, it's kind of like Tyreek Hill when they put him back there sometimes. Every time he touches that ball, you don't know if he's going to break it for 6.
hmm
Like he's fast enough where he can do it. So that's the exciting part.
Yeah, so kind of switching gears here again with draft week upon us. Justin Fields has kind of been the talk of the town. Um, Roller coaster of like pro days and where he's gonna land, stuff like that. What's the latest on where he's gonna land now?
So officially, publicly has came out that Fields is not in the 49ers conversation anymore at this point. It is between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, whoever will fall at that 3 spot. Rumors have it that Fields could potentially fall. What is that? The Patriots have the 15th pick.
hmm
Rumors have it that if he falls to 15, the Pats are going to take him with their 15th pick if he ends up falling that far. Obviously, they might trade up to try to secure to get him, but as of late, it looks like the Patriots are a full go on Fields at this point, unless Trey Lance, because the real question mark is the two question marks I should say is Denver Broncos, what are you going to do? And the Atlanta Falcons, what are you going to do? Those are the two big question marks right now. The big spots that you could see a team coming from left field, right field. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Um, yeah, you'd hate to see Fields drop that far to 15, but I mean, it's that like we've talked about multiple times. This is like the NFL's election every year, where they just hype up stuff, blow smoke about other stuff, and the stuff that was super low key and everybody's like that's not going to happen is what happens, and what gets hyped up for months and months and months ends up not happening at all. So um it's always interesting to see what happens this time of year. You see all these analysts making their mock draft 3.0, 4.0, 5.0 because every day something new changes to where a guy who was in the top 5 drops out of the first round. Like it's crazy the kind of stuff that happens come draft week.
And who's to say all that public is not to say that they are going to take Fields at 3 and it's all just talk until draft night arises on Thursday, which we're super pumped for. Hopefully we can bring you a draft like extravaganza. We're hoping to get together, do a live stream of the draft, kind of just see where our mock drafts kind of end up with that. We were planning on potentially doing something a little fun with that. So hopefully that works out and we can bring that to you guys starting Thursday. If we do, we'll be live probably a half hour before the draft starts. And yeah, I guess we'll keep you guys posted on that. News about that'll be coming out over probably the next day or two on the specifics of that. But Yeah, why do you think Fields is falling? Or as they say, he's falling.
I mean, honestly, it's hard to put your finger on what exactly it is. He's had 2 amazing pro days. The first one looked really good. 49ers came out and said we want to see Fields have another pro day, while in the midst of them basically being all in on Mac Jones at the time, supposedly. He comes out, matches, if not does better. Um, there was speculation around him, um, his IQ of the game not being one of the most smart or the smartest guys on the field. Turns out he has potential photographic memory, and for the assessment that QBs take before the draft, he ended up having the highest score. So it's just like his draft stock just should have kept going up and up and up these last couple weeks and last couple months. Um, Obviously, these scouts, these insiders who are watching him throw, see something that we don't see from his videos, from his pro day, and just from looking at his highlights from his days at Ohio State. I don't really see anything wrong with the guy. So, like I said, it's got to be something that we're not seeing. Whether it's maybe he carries himself off the field poorly, whatever. But at the same time, he looks like he carries himself well. He doesn't seem like a douchebag guy. He kind of seems like he has his head on his shoulders, like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he one of the guys with Trevor Lawrence that kind of got the whole college football season roaring back up. Like I know in the Big Ten, he was one of the big spokespersons on that to get the Big Ten back and playing.
Yeah, he was. So, which again just goes to show his draft stock. Everything I've said over the last couple minutes just should add to his draft stock. But it's I don't know. Do you know, like, where do you kind of stand with that? Is there anything that you've seen that could potentially have made him fall, or is going to make him fall supposedly?
I really don't know. The NFL is really good at leaving people not really knowing what they're going to do outside of really that first pick is kind of that surefire, maybe even the second pick, but really anything after that's kind of like an all go. So I really don't know. I honestly really don't know where he's going to end up. I don't really. I mean, if he still gets drafted in the first round, I mean, congratulations to him. I mean, that kind of suck money wise, and like not getting what the top guys get. But I don't know if you're doing it for the love of the game and not for the money. I guess it doesn't really matter how far you fall as long as you get that shot, like Tom Brady. Pick 199 and look at his career. Probably the greatest player to ever touch a football. So who's to say?
Yeah, kind of an interesting take with that. How you're talking about again who rookie of the year potentially is going to be. Kind of Trevor Lawrence and Kyle Pitts, the 2 guys you threw out there. I think if Fields drops outside the top 10, depending where he lands, it's going to depend on the team where he lands. If he's going to be stepping into that number 1 position, if he can potentially bring a team to the playoffs, whatever it might be, I think he could be easily rookie of the year himself, because all the spotlight's going to be on putting the Pitts and Lawrence and all these guys really in the top 5 on a pedestal, expecting them to go out and take a team over and do all these flashy things. I think if Fields drops outside the top 10, that he's going to be kind of forgotten about, to the point that it's going to take less for Fields to do stuff to put him into the conversation, to where there's going to be less stress on him, because he's not going to have all eyes on him as much as some of these top guys are going to have. I think the talent is easily there. That again, depending where he lands, if he goes to a team where he can step into the number 1 position, obviously if he goes to a backup position, then that takes rookie of the year out of the equation if he's not on the field. But yeah, it's nice to see some, like Justin Herbert, for instance, last year winning offensive rookie of the year. He was kind of a dark horse kind of guy. Like nobody, like the first half of the year, he was just like, oh yeah, he's having a admirable year, and then boom, he just exploded in the second half of the season. Yeah, the Chargers didn't make it to the playoffs, but he broke some of Baker Mayfield's rookie records. He set some rookie records that have stood for how many years, and then he ends up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. But I could see potentially Fields doing the same thing, kind of being quiet in the first half of the year as all eyes are on the top guys, and then he just comes out of nowhere and steals the show.
Where do you think he'd go, though, where he'd get that opportunity?
Philadelphia, or not Philadelphia, New England.
Well, because they already named Cam the starter. They're giving him the full go for season 2.
Yeah, but if they start the season 0-2, 0-3, 0-4,
Do you really
Fields
think
gets
Bill's
a
going to let
nod.
that happen, though?
He let it happen last year.
With a 90%, like a lot of their team opting out, and they didn't have any offensive weapons. That's why they spent the money that they spent.
Yeah, but that's also an excuse that how many other teams could use. You know what I mean?
Well, how many other teams had more than 11 players opt out?
I don't know. You just the NFL as a whole last year, like everybody could use the same excuse. You know what I mean? It's a weird year. It's COVID. There's extra protocols. There's this. There's that. Like,
Well, and you lose Tom Brady.
I mean, yeah, that's part of it. Which is again to the point of Field. If they take Fields, he could get the look at like Garoppolo, what he did when Tom Brady was out. Like, I don't know. It like I agree that like how they said Cam Newton is obviously their go-to guy at the beginning of the year, but if things skid, if that 170, 180 million, whatever Belichick spent in 4 hours a couple weeks back doesn't pan out for him by week 3, week 4, and Cam Newton's struggling. I don't think Newton had 20 total touchdowns last year. That's half half of what the kind of the average mark is for a quarterback to shoot for.
I don't even know if he had 10.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 17 total, like between rushing and passing, is what he had. Something
I
like
think
that.
he had more rushing than passing.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But like that's the thing though. That's Cam Newton's style, and like what they went and did with their tight ends in the line. They rebuilt him. Bill literally rebuilt him that team that he had in Carolina when they went to the Super Bowl. That's exactly what they did. They rebuilt that whole thing for Cam to succeed in that style. Justin Fields, he's a thrower, dude. He's not so much of a runner. Where Cam,
Yeah.
he loves to run the ball. He's fucking 6'8". Fields ain't 6'8".
No.
You know what I mean? Like Cam Newton's got that body the same as like a Derrick Henry. You fall forward and you're getting 4 yards.
Yeah.
Like he's a monster. Yeah, his throwing went a little haywire since his injuries and whatever. But who's to say he's had all this time to get better and heal up. Last season was a struggle. He had COVID, and he said that really fucked with him all season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's coming out about the Flyers as well. Like, not jumping off topic, but a lot of other teams who have had COVID, they're saying it's taking so long for them to get back to what it was like before they had COVID that it's kind of like a scratch of a season if you get COVID. Like it takes that long to recover and get everything, like get back to full strength. So a lot of teams dealt with that last year, so this season's kind of going to be a fresh slate. Everybody's going to be ready, healthy, good to go, and should be really interesting. Like I said, Fields, if he goes to the Patriots, I just don't, like I said, I just don't see him playing over Cam Newton unless, like you said, it's complete disaster. Maybe the last couple of games of the season.
Well, that's a thing for the Patriots. Look at the division they're in with Buffalo and Miami, both uptrending teams, to where you're looking at the AFC East. That I don't think that you if you don't win that division, you're not making the playoffs. Look at the Dolphins last year. They went 10-6, didn't make the playoffs. Buffalo ended up winning the division. They made it to the AFC Championship. New England, I think it's kind of the same trend. They have to be better than Buffalo and the Dolphins to even have a sniff at the playoffs. Looking at the AFC North, all the Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and Bengals. Obviously, Bengals are kind of in pending there. But the first 3 teams I mentioned there all could be potentially in the playoffs. So I think you're looking at the AFC East. The Patriots need to, where if they start the year either by week 5, if they only have 1 or 2 wins, I think that Bill goes out and makes a big change, whether it is at the quarterback position or whatever it might be. But that's a division where if you fall behind early, you're not going to catch back up.
Yeah, and the Dolphins is going to be different too. They had Fitzmagic who stepped in a handful of games and won it for them. Tua doesn't have that crutch anymore, so I could see them losing a handful of more games without Fitzmagic. I think he ended up getting them 6 wins out of their 10 last season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And then my last little thing here on the NFL stuff is 13 players are set to be at the NFL draft. The rest of the players are supposed to either be at home on their cameras or at their former alma maters. And then at the event, there's supposed to be like 5,400 people, I believe, is what the first report is. 5,400 people, and there'll be 2 groups, one vaccinated group, one non-vaccinated group. That's all that's really came out so far about the draft. But yeah, that's kind of all I have, and looking really forward. I don't know why I said it that way. It sounded like a dumbass, but I'm really looking forward to Thursday when the draft is here.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Again, hopefully we can get together on Thursday and kind of have a little draft party and see how our mock drafts played out. Yeah, excited for that. Before we switch gears to the NBA here, excited to announce that we have partnered up with Golf Kicks. So officially sponsored by them. Our podcast is now brought to you by Golf Kicks. Golf Kicks allows you to transform any golf shoe or any shoe into a golf shoe. That's sneakers, Jordans, flip-flops, Crocs, you name it. Whatever you want to turn into a golf shoe, you can do it. Head over to golfkicks.com today. You can transform any of your favorite kicks into your new favorite golf shoes. At checkout, use code OWN20, that's OWN20, for 20% off of your order. Golf Kicks, screw your shoes. So jumping into the NBA here, again, only about a dozen games left around the league. Kind of one of the trending topics over the last few episodes for us has been Steph Curry. Steph Curry, again, breaking more records, set an NBA record yesterday against the Mavericks, putting up 85 threes in a single calendar month. The Warriors still have 2 games left in the month, so you can add to that even more. Sitting at 85 right now, he's only 15 away from 100. Do you think he can put up 15 more threes to break triple digits, just to kind of run away with that record?
Oh yeah, easily. He's going for the record. Their team's, in a struggle right now to even pull through to make it. He's got a ball out to go get it, so he's going to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and hopefully he stays hot. I could see him potentially even hitting 110.
Oh, easily.
That's like 17, 18 threes a game. He could do that.
Well, 17, 18 threes, he'd be breaking multiple NBA. The most in a game right now is 13. So
a single player?
Yeah.
And does he have that?
I think Klay Thompson has it, actually. Steph Curry has the record for 12 and 11 multiple times, and Klay Thompson stands alone at 13, I want to say.
Still, I can see him doing it.
Oh, yeah.
He's the best shooter in today's game, so.
What's some points you got on the NBA?
I just got one. Easy money sniper, aka Kevin Durant, was back on the court. Dropped 33 in their win over the Suns, who's my pick to win the NBA Finals. After I saw that game, him just come off the floor, basically come back like nothing. Like he hasn't even missed a beat. Drops 33 like it's nothing. Easy W. It's just like, fuck, dude, that team is so good. Like that team is really, really, really good. And I really think that they could be that team who hasn't played more than 10 games together that goes and wins the finals. That offensive power, it's like when they turn it on, they can easily put 20 points up in 4 minutes. Like it's impressive to watch. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see once you get to the playoffs because emotions rise, play rises, everything arises. Obviously, there's going to be more fans in the building, so that's going to have a little bit of part to do with it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can squeak through the playoffs. But damn, they look really good.
Yeah, as much as we give Kevin Durant throw shade at him for kind of his off the court antics and stuff, can't arguably one of the best overall players in the NBA right now. Like you said, didn't really miss a beat with 33 points the other night. Yeah, so long as they can stay healthy, they're going to be scary coming out of the East. Switching things over to the West, though, a team that's kind of been struggling, the reigning champions, the Lakers, they lose again yesterday to the Mavericks. Even though Davis has been back, they're having trouble finding their identity again with the postseason approaching. 11, 12 games left for a lot of these teams. They currently sit at the number 5 spot in the West. Only 4.5 games separate the number 5 Lakers and the number 10 Warriors. So small margin between 5-6 teams there. Again, the top 6 teams are the only ones that are a lock. The rest will go to a play-in tournament. I believe they only have a 2-game lead over whoever currently sits in 7 right at the 7th spot right now. I want to say it's the Trailblazers. Do you think that the Lakers can hold on? I know there's been talks of LeBron James potentially being back for either their Sunday or Monday contest next week would be the earliest he'd be back. Do you think the Lakers can hold on without LeBron, or do you think that they're going to fall into that play-in tournament where if they're still fighting injuries and fighting to find their identity, one loss and they could be out?
I think they're just fine. LeBron is supposed to be back May 2nd. So that is what, Sunday?
Either Sunday or Monday.
Well, the 2nd is supposedly when they came out and said the 2nd is the day that he's coming back. So 6 days from now, so that's Saturday. So he'll be back for Sunday's game. They have a 3-game cushion over the Trailblazers in the 7th spot, a 1.5 over the Mavericks in the 6th. No, I have no worries, dude. I got no worries for the Lakers, especially when LeBron gets back. Drummond has been tearing it up, getting like 19 rebounds a game. He's just been going ham. AD's just got to get back in the rhythm of playing. You know, he's been off for 6 weeks. LeBron, he's going to be off for 6-8 weeks as well. So they're going to be back just in time to fine tune things for their playoff run. And hopefully, what the fans would love to see is obviously Lakers Clippers conference finals. Everybody would love to see that, but I really hope that the Phoenix Suns get a shot.
Yeah. Any other points on the NBA?
No, that's really all I got. Giannis, I mean, besides Giannis looking good, he's looking good. They're 2 games back. I think they've solidified that 3rd spot. You know, they have like a 3.5 game cushion on the Knicks and the Hawks. So yeah, Bucks are sitting good. It's going to be a nice easy coast out to the end of the year before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Get some rest.
Switching gears here over to the NCAA. Just a quick point. College football, obviously not in season right now, but our Wisconsin Badgers recently extended head coach Paul Chryst and 5 others to contract extensions. Chris is now tied to the Badgers through the 2026 season. I think it's a really good move for them. Paul Chryst has kind of picked up where Bielema left off, and Alvarez with his little stint in there of kind of being the interim guy between the two. Bowl game after bowl game every season, up until midway through the season when they lose to a non-ranked team that kind of throws their season. But yeah, great to see him with the Badgers for at least 5 more years.
I don't like the move.
Really?
Nope. Don't like the move. With the talent that we have in Wisconsin, can't afford to lose those games, dude. We've blown it year after year after year. How many years has it been? The last 4 in a row? It seems like where we've lost to a complete shit team in the middle of the season, usually on the road as well. And you can't have that. You don't see Alabama, any of the Ohio States. You don't see any of those top teams losing to a shit team.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, yeah, if we're gonna settle for being middle of the road and yeah, we'll take a bowl game, we'll take a bowl game. We'll get to the Big Ten championship every year and get slaughtered or not even make it. It's just like it's not good enough. I feel like we need to. Did we re-sign Jim Leonard?
I don't know. It didn't say. It just said Chris and then 5 other coaches. If I were
Well,
to look,
if we lose him, we're effed. He's the top defensive coordinator in the country. Our defense is always top 2, top 3, top 5 in the country year after year after year after year. So as long as we got him, I still have faith. But yeah, I feel like we need to change things up. We're always such a big run heavy team. It'd be nice to see us. I mean, who's that freshman that we had who did really well until he got COVID? Then the whole season,
Mertz.
He's good.
Yeah.
Like he's like the first real quarterback since Russ that the Badgers have really had. So let the kid throw the ball. I mean, if he readjusts the offense and gets them throwing the ball and everything's great. But if he can't get over the hump, I feel like we should have extended him like 1 more year and kind of like last year was just a throwaway year. How are we going to do this year?
Well, he was already slated through 2025. They just extended him an extra year to 2026. So he was already through 2025 for whatever reason. They just decided, hey, let's add on another year.
Right, but they can still fire him.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, this past year again with some of the athletes being out due to COVID and injuries, your top 2 receivers and Davis and Pryor both were out in that Northwestern game that they ended up losing, which kind of threw their season sideways. So it's hard. It's hard when you have teams like Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State that have 3 or 4 top of the nation receivers all on your team, where Wisconsin really only has 1 or 2, and then after that, good luck. Start handing off the ball. See if the run game can save the game, kind of thing. Yeah, I like Mertz. Graham Mertz is a young stud. Looked great in his true freshman year. Obviously made some young mistakes, but also as soon as the season kind of went off the tracks, I think they just gave him the green light to go out there, gain some experience, make some bad throws, get it all out of the tank. In a season that really didn't matter anymore. So yeah, it's exciting to see where the Badgers end up. They always end up starting out the year in the top 10 for rank, and then close to sniffing the top 5, and then piss it away against Illinois or Northwestern or Purdue or Rutgers or something.
Minnesota.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I agree that some changes need to be made. I don't necessarily know if Chris is the issue.
Well, he's the guy calling the shots.
Yeah.
So it leads to him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how that works out. He is through 2026, but again, they shit the bed next year. They could tell him to take a hike. So who knows? Going over to the MLB here for some MLB talk. The Brewers won the series yesterday against the Cubs 2-1, bouncing back after losing Saturday 15-2. The bats were busy yesterday in the 9th. They put up 5 of their 6 runs in the top of the inning, and they're back home tonight with a series against the Marlins. Cincinnati Reds are on a 7-game skid and fall to 9-2 Sunday after starting the season 6-1. The Dodgers lost to the Padres yesterday in Atlanta Falcons fashion. They're up 7-1 through 6 innings, and then would go on to lose 8-7 in 11 innings. So their offense just fell apart in the last 3 innings there. Fernando Tatis Jr. on absolute tear right now, has 5 home runs in his last 3 games for the Padres. Padres really look hot out there in the West. And then last point, Madison Bumgarner pitches a 7-inning no-hitter in game 2 of their doubleheader with the Braves yesterday. Kind of sticking with that, I don't know if you saw how they're treating that situation. Even though he pitched a no-hitter, they're not actually calling it a no-hitter because there's only 7 innings. Due to, I think it was the who do they play? Diamondbacks. Oh, the Braves. They played the Braves. I think the Braves had COVID issues in the beginning of the year, so these were just 2 makeup games they had to make. So they were slated 7-inning games. Do you think that they should call it a no hitter? Because obviously it's not a full 9-inning game, but it was already slated as 7 innings, so he technically played a full game. They gave him the win because he played his amount of innings that you need to play as a starter. I guess what do you think about this?
No hitters 9, man. No hitters 9 innings.
Even though
All the is but that don't matter. No hitters 9 innings.
that's fair. Yeah, that was the last point I had on the MLB. Just want to end with that point there. What do you got going on over in the NHL?
So over to the hockey talk here. Andrew Shaw, Chicago Blackhawk, retires at 29, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He's stepping away from the game due to concussion issues. He's been really one of the enforcers guys. I mean, for people who really don't know Andrew Shaw, for who Andrew Shaw is and is new to the game of hockey, if you watch hockey, Tom Wilson for the Washington Capitals, Andrew Shaw is kind of like, he was like the pre-Tom Wilson. Gritty guy, drop the gloves, stir shit up, love to hit guys. He was a real big piece for that Blackhawks team going as far as they did on those runs that they did to win those cups. So shout out to him stepping away from the game on his own recognizance and not having a concussion be the reason putting him out. You know, him stepping away from the game due to concussions feels like it's more on his terms than concussions keeping him out, because he was playing this year. Over to the East here, my Flyers rallied late in the game with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, down 3-1 in the third period. Claude Giroux scored 2 goals in a matter of 22 seconds. Take them to overtime, and they ended up winning in a shootout, which is huge for them, as the Boston Bruins fell to the Penguins 1-0. Huge 2-point swing right there for the Flyers to get even closer to sniffing a playoff berth. I know the odds look really crazy, and it'd be take a miracle for them to get there, but they did it before, and I got faith that they could do it again. Mikko Zibanejad, hat trick for the Rangers, leads them over Buffalo 6-3. Continues to be super impressive since that March 12th, I think it is. He's league leader in points, not even close. Dude's been running away with it. Obviously, that Rangers sit right ahead of my Flyers, pushing for that spot. So it's going to be interesting to see. Shout out to rookie goaltender Spencer Knight. He's on a roll for Florida right now. That team is on a big push for the playoffs. They're currently sitting in second place. Kind of seems like they've solidified themselves. They haven't got the X to guarantee their spot yet, but pretty much after their last couple wins that he stepped in and played really big for them, it's been really, really neat to see a rookie goaltender step in this late in the season in kind of a big spotlight and be able to stand in there and do your job. Keith Yandel, shout out to Keith Yandel. People know him from Spittin' Chicklets, the Sonk guy. He has now moved into second all time for the NHL Ironman streak at 915 games. He just hit that the other day. He's chasing down Doug Jarvis with 964, which is the NHL's all-time leading games played. Do you think Keith Yandel is going to hit that mark, Collin?
Yeah, that was weird. I was muted for some reason. Yeah, he can't stop now. I mean, he's already that far. Um, you don't come close to a mark like that just to come up short. Obviously, the Iron Man award is a prestigious award, no matter what sport, to be considered an Iron Man kind of player. Um, yeah, really was it like 50 some games that he has to play. So obviously he probably won't hit that this season, but yeah, next season, obviously, kind of just the gritty durability that it takes to get through an NHL season. He's going to be kind of in the driver's seat for really next year to have 20, 30 games to hit next year to hit that mark. So he kind of set himself up perfectly to where he can rest, stay healthy, that kind of stuff in the off season. So yeah, I can definitely see him hitting that mark.
Yeah, Keith, he's been an absolute warrior. Uh, he was drafted in 2005 for the Phoenix Coyotes. So that just goes to show how long he has been in the league. He's been in the league for a long time. He's always produced very well. He's an offensive defenseman. There was a couple times where his streak was in jeopardy with him having to leave to get stitches, glue some cuts shut, all that type of stuff, throw on a cage. He's battled through. There was one time, I believe, where he was in the hospital and they thought that he wasn't going to make it. And he said, no, I got to make the game. And he ended up coming out there and playing. So, yeah, he wants it. And I could definitely see him getting that, especially with the NHL. Kind of, it's not as rough as it used to be. Like it's faster, which is probably more wear and tear on your body, but it's not as like rough, like where guys are cheap shotting each other all the time and stuff. Don't get me wrong, there still is a handful of that and a lot of that stuff, but it doesn't really get amplified to the playoffs. That's kind of where you see a whole nother level where you're seeing 100 hits a game combined between the two teams, or you look at a normal season game and you're maybe seeing 40. Like it's a huge difference of what you're taking on your body. So he's going to have the playoffs to go through this year. It'll be 20 something more games added on. So yeah, like you said, 20 games into next season or so, he'd be sitting that lone leader and could extend that streak. Who knows how long?
Over 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think that record will ever get touched, honestly. It's pretty crazy. Just due to concussions and all the sort of stuff that not on your own volition, you're going to get taken out.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus with how young the league is trending, to where I think rarely you're going to see guys make it into their low 30s, because then there's going to be a guy who's 20 years old who's faster than you that can do the exact same thing for cheaper, and boom, you're out. So I think it's going to be hard to see guys that stick in the league really after this generation of players that come through, that you're going to see guys play for more than 15 years probably.
Well, yeah, and all these young kids who are coming in, they're going to get in super early and they're just going to have to keep up their dominance, or they're going to get bounced. Like I've talked about a handful of times with buddies off the podcast on how there's a handful of guys who are still playing in the league who would be considered slower skaters, like the bottom end skaters of the league, like the slower guys. But the only reason they're still in the NHL is because they're still scoring goals and they're still putting points up. You know what I mean? Like if they weren't putting up the points, if they weren't if their production wasn't as much as their production is, they wouldn't be on the team, because there is that younger kid who is just as fast, if not as faster, and could easily do as good of a job as you're doing now and be replaced. So yeah, it's really, and then you were talking about the age of how young kids are. I forgot what they said yesterday when I was watching the Devils. They had 2 or 3 guys that are over the age of 25. They have the youngest roster in the NHL. And it's just like, that's insane. Like their whole team is basically 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. All rookies. Like they have the most rookie points. They have the most rookie skaters. Like it's insane, but it's really cool to see, that them buying in really early with a whole bunch of young guys and saying, okay, now's the time that all you guys are coming in and you guys are the future. Let's see what we can do now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And then my last thing here, and for the NHL, was a pretty cool moment over the weekend. Artem Anisimov, he's played over 770 NHL games as a forward. He's currently on the Ottawa Senators. Starting goaltender Anton Forsberg was injured during warmups. Matt Murray, their second goaltender, left the game with a lower body injury in the second period. Their taxi squad goaltender, which all teams have, their third goalie, went into the game. And guy who was originally scratched had to hop in the locker room and throw on the goalie pads. Fully dressed, ready to go. He was the emergency goalie in case he had to step in there in the net. The coach was asked about it, and he said he was looking all around. They didn't have nobody left. He had no idea what to do, so he kind of asked all the boys, anybody want to step in the net? And he raised his hand, threw on the gear, and how neat would that have been to see a player step in the net and hop in there? But yeah, and then kind of like the same thing happened over the weekend as well in the East Coast League. One of the teams' goalies didn't make it to the game, so one of the goalie coach actually threw on the gear and stepped in and played the game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. NHL is like that. Every arena's got an emergency goalie in case something crazy happens where you're not for the home team or the away team, just whichever team needs attendee, you're stepping in the net. So how unreal would that be? You're at a game, you're like 4 beers deep, you get some guy comes and taps you on the shoulder. Hey, you're the emergency attendee tonight. Because I honestly think that's how it is. I believe it is a random person. Obviously, who's played hockey, who has some background in hockey. I don't think it's like 100% complete random. Like they're taking a person who's never thrown on skates before.
Yeah.
Like I think it's random enough to where they like somebody, because like the guy who won a handful of years ago who stepped in and won the game, he used to play like beer league hockey. Like that was his experience. He never played in fucking competitive. Like and going out in the NHL and getting a dub, like hell yeah. You got the boys rallying around you. It's like, what a cool moment. But yeah, that's all I had for the NHL stuff. Battles are getting tighter and tighter every day here. So yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on how that comes here as the season's coming to an end, and we'll get that bracket challenge and all those details up and out for you guys when the time's right.
Yeah. Just some last points here that I have. Going over to the UFC, again, this past Saturday, big fight between Usman and Masvidal. Kind of the co-main fight, though, starting things off. Namajunas knocks out Zhang in the first round.
Is that the girls? Was that those girls?
Women, strawweight. Namajunas, pride of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised Milwaukee. So it was awesome to see her do what she did. It was kind of gave me goosebumps watching before the fight when they were announcing her. She's sitting in her corner when they're announcing, and she just say, "I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best." Just sitting there mouthing that to herself, just locked eyes on her opponent, and she just came out. It was a couple jabs here and there, back and forth, not a whole lot going on, and then just roundhouse kick right to the face, a little over a minute in, and then ground and pound to finish the fight. So that was awesome to see. And then
I've been in real quick about that fight. Did you get to see her interview with Joe Rogan afterwards?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it.
So he asked her just how you're so calm and how you prepared yourself to get ready for the fight, and she's like, just being calm and whatever. And then he said what you said. I noticed you were sitting there in the corner mouthing, I'm the best to yourself. And he goes, what's that all about? And she goes, because I'm the best. Like, that's just so cool. That gave me the goosebumps. Just somebody so humbled, just putting their mind to it and going out there and doing it. Like, as simple as that. And like you said, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it's really cool.
Yeah. And then the main card fight of the night. Overall, all the fights in the main card, I think, amounted to like 17 and a half minutes of total fight time. So it was an amazing night for UFC fighting. A lot of early knockouts, submissions, stuff like that. I think only
they hit a grand slam. They hit a grand slam in baseball terms of first live event. I feel like this is kind of the UFC show in the sports world fuck you, like we could do this.
Yeah.
Because like you look at the people I didn't see people wearing masks. Like yeah, in
Oh
some of the
no.
pictures and stuff, but like watching, there was no masks, and this is kind of, we'll see how that happens with this whole thing. But the UFC definitely hit this out of the park. It was definitely a great event, and the fighters, obviously, it feels like they even kind of knew that they had big shoes to fill with people being there. You know, the energy, like people were throwing bombs, and it was great fights.
Yeah. And then with the Usman Masvidal fight, again, another amazing round. Um, went to the second round. Usman won the first round 10-9. So he kind of had a little bit of an edge out of the first round. And then just over a minute into the second round, Usman lands an absolute blow to Masvidal and walked away. Didn't even have to finish him. Masvidal was out. Usman moves to 19-1 in his professional career. Hasn't had a loss since I believe March of 2016. Man's just had an absolute tear. Masvidal kind of gets knocked down off his throne a little bit. He's kind of that. Obviously, in the UFC as a fighter, you gotta have swagger, you gotta have confidence, because he's kind of that guy that I guess seems a little more cocky than he needs to be. With a 35-15 record, obviously a very admirable career. It'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with Masvidal moving forward. But right away, Usman, his team called out, says that Colby Covington is going to be the next fight there, happening sometime over the summer, as Covington looks to challenge Usman for that welterweight title. So looking forward to that fight as well. And yeah, that's all I had on the UFC today.
Yeah, did you happen to see Jake Paul chilling with MGK, Antonio Brown, and then him shit talking, him and Daniel Cormier were tripping at each other, and that's now being hyped up to be the fight.
Yeah,
Paul's next fight.
I know. Yeah, and I don't know what podcast he was on. I think it was his brother Logan's podcast, where Jake Paul just came out of nowhere and said, "Oh, I knocked the fuck out of Cormier." It's like, dude's got like 100 pounds on you. In a UFC, that weight matters.
Boxing it doesn't.
Boxing it doesn't. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, Cormier is a little over a year retired. Seems like he enjoys sitting on the panel with Rogan, commentating fights and stuff. So, but money talks. Who knows what's going to happen there? I know that's kind of Jake Paul's next thing. Otherwise, there's been a couple other boxers, up and coming boxers, who have called Paul out as well. So he's not going to have an issue finding another guy to fight. It's just going to probably be a matter of who's got the most money to throw around.
Absolutely, and then it goes back to how he's a master marketer. The whole arena, he just showed up to be a spectator, and the whole arena was chirping, "Fuck you, fuck you,
fuck Jake Paul."
Yeah.
And then he turns on his phone and he's like, Jake Paul's loving it. It's like, you guys are just giving him the attention he wants.
And he just and that fight grossed over $78 million last weekend. So clearly, whatever he's doing is working. His name is staying in people's mouths, and he's riling them up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had today. If you had any final points to add before we wrap things up.
No, that's really all I had. Yet again, thanks for everyone stopping by the show, dropping in. Don't forget to leave a like, follow, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do it for you guys, like we said, and we're hoping to start incorporating some like bracket challenges, doing this draft extravaganza here for you guys, for the people watching here, trying to do something fun with the draft and try to get more people to the community, as we're trying to like build this into a big sports, a big sports community is kind of what we want here. Is if you want to talk shit, talk shit. If you don't want to talk shit, say something nice. We'll be more than happy to go toe to toe, with you guys back and forth. We ain't scared.
Yeah, and just a couple points to add. Tomorrow, got another interview set up for you guys. Good friend of mine, CJ Pillith, the brother of Josh. For those who watched that episode last week, again, had another college track career. So looking forward to sitting down with him tomorrow. And then big announcement as well. Another guest we're going to be having on in about 2 or 3 weeks. Comedian, actor, golf fanatic Jake Adams is going to be coming on the show with us. Looking forward to sitting down with him. For those who've been following his story, he's been traveling the country, hitting a golf ball in all 50 states in 30 days. He's got a GoFundMe, so just search his name, for his GoFundMe page. I think he's only got 4 or 5 days left in his trip, so go follow his journey, and we look forward to sitting down with him in a couple weeks to kind of recap that, talk some golf, and talk some other sports.
Yeah, we've been following him pretty closely along his journey. It's been really cool to see what he's doing for the game of golf, and we're really looking forward to sitting down, talking to him, and seeing what all went into this whole journey of his.
For sure. Yeah, again, we'll see you guys tomorrow for an interview, and then back for some more sports news on Wednesday. So everybody take care. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Have a good one, everyone.